This picture. Let's talk about it. I'm gonna need a drink. This picture doesn't show that your husband was legally allowed to grape you. No legal protection against violence or grape from your own husband. It doesn't show the lobotomies mostly done on women for daring to have any emotion, to speak up and have any sort of resistance. A male doctor would come along and destroy or cut a woman's frontal lobe. You know, the part which is supposed to be for your personality, your decision making, your emotion. Often done by shoving a metal rod into a woman's eye socket, into the brain. This picture doesn't show the thousands of dreams that women had outside of motherhood and marriage that they was not literally allowed to pursue. This picture doesn't show millions of women who had no income, no autonomy, no legal rights, and basically marriage was not about love, it was about ownership, a man owning a woman. This picture doesn't show the hundreds of thousands of women that had to be prescribed Xanax, Valium, or antidepressants just to literally make it through the fucking day. This picture doesn't show how mummy and wife were the only two names a woman really had. So what this picture does actually represent is a time when men had all the control and all the power. Men controlled women's bodies, finances, medical decisions. Marriage wasn't a partnership, it was control. It was ownership. Marriage and motherhood wasn't a choice for women. It was the only path allowed. And the reason men love to romanticize this is because they benefited from women having no way out. So cheers to seeing through the bull, because that's what it is, bull.
I'm going to ignore all the lobotomy part, as that is all complete nonsense, and I'm not saying it didn't happen, but doctors weren't doing lobotomies left and right, and if anything, she's making the case that if this was true, then we obviously need to bring this practice back, because it was clearly working back then. But jokes aside, a lot of these online influencers, or anyone who brings up these pin-up pictures, always seem to have their own headcanon about what was going on, when it was probably somewhere in the middle, where some of what she said was going on, but it wasn't common or the norm. But these women like to pretend like it was the worst time in history, like they were still getting traded around for farm animals, when really what this picture represents is just an idealized version of the family structure where everybody's kind of getting a little what they want. Women weren't oppressed, they just had expectations like men did. And it's not like you couldn't get out of it either. Divorce has always been a thing. Just back then you needed more than "I feel like it" and provable, probable causes. And that went both ways. It was as balanced as it could have been. So there wasn't all this legal graping going on. That's never been a thing. Did it happen? Sure. But that doesn't mean it was right or legal. The reason this time period gets romanticized isn't because of the reasons she said. That's just feminist slop they have to believe in. But because that's when the exchange felt somewhat fair and equal. But let's just say everything she says is true. And now that you all don't have these oppressive shackles, you girls really haven't made it any better for yourself. You're all on more drugs and antidepressants than ever. So clearly it wasn't because of all this oppression. Have huge debts with useless degrees that would have been better off being toilet paper. Most of you are dead-end jobs, and the few that do make it, looks more like adult daycare, where no actual work is getting done. And the majority of you end up doing work in one form or another. And now nobody's happy or getting what they want, not even a little. And we're speeding towards a collapse just as big as the Roman Empire. So was it this utopian time period? No, but it wasn't this oppressive regime that these feminists believe either. It's just a narrative that these women have to believe in. Otherwise they'll realize maybe we didn't have it so bad back then, and is why they demonize it so hard. Otherwise the narrative falls apart.